Okay, this is the first in a line of tutorials that I'm going to be explaining how to build the basics of building your own PC running Windows. So there are many parts to building a computer, obviously. There's the hard drive, like CD drives, RAM, graphics cards, power supply, and everything. All those components tie into what's called the motherboard. Motherboard, everything connects to, and the motherboard controls what those components do. It's kind of like a bad way to describe it, but it's like the overseer with slaves. The components are a bunch of slaves, and the motherboard is an overseer, and the overseer tells all the slaves what to do, what they can work on, and that type of stuff. So there are two main types of motherboards: there's AMD motherboards and Intel motherboards. The only difference is that AMD motherboards run the AMD line of processors, and the Intel motherboards run the Intel line of processors. So I'm just gonna go to Intel to show you guys. I have an Intel motherboard, and I'm gonna go down this line explaining the best that I can what the components are, what these types of categories are. So the CPU socket type is the type. It's what your processor connects to. It's what your processor is a different type of socket type. So like if your processor is an LGA 1156, you cannot plug that into an LGA 1366 socket. It's not going to fit. So when building a computer, you have to make sure that the processor fits into the motherboard that you've selected. So, and building a computer is a lot of matching components. You have to make sure that they're compatible, and if they're not compatible, you have to go and search for another component that you want that is compatible with the other components. So it's a lot of matching. Um, so that's what the CPU socket type is. It's what your processor is. So CPU type goes along with the CPU socket type because Core i7 is an LGA 1366. So you're not going to be able to plug an LGA 1366 Core i7 into a 1156. Although there are some Core i7s that are 1156, but you're still not going to be able to plug that into an LGA 1366 socket. So you have to make sure your motherboard supports the type of the socket type that your processor has. And Core i7 just means that's the flagship of Intel's processor line. I cannot talk. I am sorry. i7 is the highest speed that they make. Going down the list is then it's i5, i3, quad, quad, Duo, Pentium 4, and Xeon is for servers. It's like ridiculously fast. It's not really for home use. So that's what those are. Northbridge, Southbridge, and FSB. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but they're a component on the motherboard. Now, PCI Express 2.0 is very important because if you're going for a gaming PC and you're looking to spend some good money, you're definitely going to want at least one of these. But Office, if you're just building a family computer to just do whatever, not hardcore gaming, then you don't necessarily need a 2.0 times 16 PCI Express slot. But if you're going for gaming, you definitely need one of these, at least one of these. I think I have three of those on mine. It's what your graphics card connects to, your VGA card. Now, in some cases, you're not going to need one of these because your motherboard will be able to put out. It has what's called onboard video, which it does the job of the graphics card in one. It's the motherboard and the graphics card in one. But the drawback of that is it's the graphics card on the motherboard is not very powerful. So if you're going for something gaming, you're obviously going to want to separate those two components so that the motherboard isn't overloaded doing the video processing too, so that they can do their jobs as best they can. But my advice to anybody building a computer is to just separate the two components. Just separate them so that you're not overloading one component with another's work. So just always separate them. You don't necessarily need a PCI Express slot to connect it. You can have a graphics card that connects through a standard PCI Express. It doesn't matter. But PCI Express 2.0 times 16 is the standard for like high-end graphics cards. There's also PCI Express 2.1 times 16, I believe, and that's the newer type. But the majority are 2.0 times 16. Moving down, the AGP slot, I don't know exactly what that is. Memory slot is also important. I think I'm running a little bit long on this. Yeah, I'm going to stop it. Just go to the next thing.